Hello, Mr. Alator. I'm Brittany H from Prince of Peace, and this is my informative speech. Hello, everybody. I'm going to give you a speech today about the life of Adolf Hitler. Now, everybody knows that Adolf Hitler was with World War II, and he became one of the rulers of Germany and killed millions of Jews, right? Well, no one really knows about his life story, and I'm going to tell you today. When Hitler was a young boy, first of all, he was born on April 20th in 1889. His parents were Alois and Clara Hitler. They were very opposite. Alois was more strict. He would beat his children and use harsh words on them to make sure that they succeed in life. Clara was a very kind and gentle woman, and she didn't even dream of hurting her children. As a young boy, he attended a monastery school in Austria. There, they have swastikas embroidered in the woodwork of the building and carved in stone. But then swastikas meant good luck. He loved playing little games like Cowboys and Indians, and he loved reenacting battles of previous wars. He was considered one of the leaders of one of his classmates, and he was very popular. When secondary school came around, his grades started failing, and he was going to have to repeat the whole year, and he wasn't as popular with his pupils, and they didn't really consider him to be one of the leaders of the class. His father died when he was 13, and at age 15, he decided to drop out of secondary school. He convinced his mother of it, and she agreed. She let him do it. When he turned 18, his mother died. He decided that he was going to go to art school because he had a great interest in art. He applied to 2 schools in Vienna, where he was rejected, but he didn't want to tell his family about this. So then he went to Vienna and pretended he was an art student. Because he was 18, he received his father's civil service pension, and that was more than enough money to live on. In Austria, when you're 18, you have to apply to the army. But he didn't, and 4 years later, the army eventually found him and made him apply, but when they gave him his medical checkup, he was far too weak to become any of the army. But he didn't want to become part of Austria's army anyway. He wanted to be part of Germany because he believed that they were the strongest country in Europe. Then World War II came about, and he believed this was a time for him to get a fresh start, and he did very well in the army. The generals of the army really trusted him, and he did very well. After the army, they used him as a spy to spy on other parties that they believed were communism. And so he went to the party, and they were talking about views, and he had the same kind of views. But then when they said something that he disagreed on, he stood up and stated his opinion. He did not like that. So then they decided, hey, why don't you join our party? And so he's like, okay, and then he became a great speaker. And he had all these different kinds of people come into this party, and it became one of the biggest parties in Germany. Then he formed his own special group of people he called stormtroopers. They wore gray shirts, combat boots, and they wore the swastikas on their arm. Then he decided he wanted to become one of the leaders of Germany, and he knew he had to form an alliance with Britain. And so because he wanted to take over all of Europe, and the Soviets didn't want him to, and he didn't want to fight Britain at the same time. So he formed an alliance with Britain, and he called a meeting of Britain, France, Italy, and Germany. He wanted to take over Czechoslovakia. And to do this, he had to get an alliance. He had to form an alliance with them. So they allowed him to get Czechoslovakia, and then he got control over most of Europe. But then he invaded Poland, and Britain said, no, that's not right. And so they formed war with Germany. And he didn't want U.S. to get into the war. They eventually did. And then Hitler's military started going downward. His health decreased, and he eventually wanted to become, he committed suicide with him and his wife, Eva Braun. He took pills, and he eventually shot himself. And then the Americans came, and Britain came, and the Soviet Union came, and they freed all the Jews that he put in concentration camps. That was in 1945 when all that ended. Now I have a slideshow. If you would help me, thank you. This is him when he was a little boy. This was an artwork that he drew. He was very good at art. There he is. He would go down parades like this, and then at the end have a great speech. That was his famous pose. That's just a portrait of him that someone drew. That's it. I have timelines to help you kind of follow where everything was. And thank you for listening to me today.